Like in the last 12 months, my company has closed 350 transactions, right? That's a phenomenally high number of deals. And not one time has an agent ever come to me and said, Carl, I went and showed my client and the listing agent met me.
So the big question is this: how will sales professionals and small business owners like us, people who didn't have the best mentors, information, or the best start in life, how will we turn that around and live the absolute best life we can for ourselves and our families, because we all deserve it? That is the question, and the Sales Talk Uncensored podcast will give you the answers. My name is David Huffman, and welcome to Sales Talk Uncensored. What is going on, Sales Talk Uncensored? It's your boy, it's the Huff. I have a super cool guest with me today for part of the Success Series. His name is Carl. And Carl, how do I pronounce your last name? Because I'm god-awful with last name.
I get that all the time. Azbell. So
it's Carl Azbell. And something that draws me to him is kind of like me, right? He's a social media guy. Like, you should follow him on Facebook, because the crap that he's done on Facebook is just insane. He sat down and taken like this brokerage in real estate, right?
Yeah.
And turned this into just an insane, like, $1 million a year enterprise, like over the course of a year. It's just absolutely nuts. But let's go ahead. Let's cut over to him so he can kind of tell you what he does.
Thanks, David. Yeah. So my name's Carl Azbell, and I built my company, Metroplex Realty. Like David said, I think a lot had to do with, I've been in the business for a long time. I have a really unique background in real estate finance, real estate appraisal, and then I was a real estate agent. But what I did was I decided to do mentorship, which is something that's just really not taught or given out. People misuse the term mentorship these days to, mean like just help you out, answer a few questions. But actually mentoring is taking somebody and developing them professionally, developing them, with their personal skills. I have a training that I love to do, for example, just a side note. I take my agents out to one of the bars, and I actually have them meet strangers, and we learn, and I teach them techniques to interact with strangers and get their information and things like that. So anyway, it's those types of things that I do that I offered out about 14 months ago, and I've hired over 120 people since then.
So that's absolutely awesome. And something that people don't realize with me is, like, I'm a pretty big introvert. That's why I do what I do with the media and stuff. And one of the things that I had to do that's way out of my comfort zone years ago, back when I worked at a gym, is my boss would sit down and he'd come up to me, and at any given time, he'd take me around and be like, hey, you got to name off 10 members. So I had to come up with all these tricks, how to, pretty much introduce myself to these members and how to remember their name. But are you familiar with Joe Verdi at all?
Yeah, slightly.
Okay, so he's a car sales trainer, and something that really attracted me to you is he has one of my favorite quotes of all time. You overcome resistance with persistence, and the difference between pushy and persistent is technique. And that's something that, I took with me, and that's why I focus so much on improving myself and training. And that's something that you do. So you mentioned that you've hired 100 and how many agents?
About 120 in about a year. Dude, I would have hired more, but I wanted the quality to be high. So I was doing 20, 25 interviews a month. One of the easiest ways, and thanks for mentioning the social media thing. Social media, a lot of people really just don't know how to use it. Like, for example, they're open houses and they just kind of have a blank, empty house without anybody there, But it's all about telling a story, right? So if I know what my end goal is, even if I have that goal today, I'll spread that story out over some period of time, because people want to feel that they're part of a story. That's kind of one of the keys to social media. They want to see the growth and they want to see the story unfold because they want to be a part of it. That's why reality TV is so popular, because they feel like they're part of it, even though they're just watching from their TV sets.
Yeah, Carmine Gallo, I believe is his name. He has the Storyteller's Secret, and he points that out, and it's just absolutely amazing. So you've done amazing things like hiring 100+ agents in the last year and stuff. And you mentioned beforehand, okay, hey, I kind of have this unique background into real estate. Let's talk about, and this is what I like to do in Success Series. Okay, we have your huge success. Let's talk about how you got up there and what you were doing before then.
Yeah. So, after graduating college, I decided to go, because I liked real estate. So I started out and I went into appraisal. So I was an appraiser apprentice for several years, and I worked for a company called Land Safe Appraisal. So I learned how to do valuations all across the country. But that got kind of boring. And so then I decided I wanted to get into something that was more corporate, something where I got to wear a suit and tie, because I liked that. I liked being in the office, and I had the idea of being on the phones, and obviously money was important, but it's all about doing what you enjoy. And I liked that. That's how I grew up. My father ran businesses his whole life. And so trying to go that route, I applied at a place, Countrywide Home Loans. And I remember I applied 5 times. You talk about persistence. No way is a real estate appraiser really qualified to do sales, at a place like Countrywide. So
I don't think I've ever heard of an appraiser going to real estate before. So
I was the only one.
What's going on?
Yeah, I was the only one. And so it was great. I applied, 4 times. They all told me, get the hell out of here. There's no way that's going to work. But the 5th guy said, I'll take you only because I need someone with a heartbeat. You're not qualified. I'll put you in sales training because I need somebody, and it's in Arizona. So you're going to have to move to Arizona to do that. So I took it. And so that's where I actually finished second in my class, which was really exciting. And I got to work the VIP portfolio. So I did loans for executives and celebrities all over the country and learned those sales skills, which over the phone, you really, really that's all you have is your personality. All you have is your ability to listen to what people are saying, and actually I'm very much an introvert naturally. I grew up very, very shy. And I think that's what helped me practice and be, I really, really pay attention to the things I say and how I say them. Whereas I think someone that's just naturally outgoing, I think that just, makes sense, right? That they're generally not paying attention.
Process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I can relate too.
Yeah, exactly. So then I did that. Then the real estate industry collapsed. And as it was collapsing, I decided to become a real estate agent. I figured there's nothing to lose. I was losing business anyway as a loan officer, but I did that for like 5-6 years. And then I moved back here to Texas, where I'm from originally. I started out at Keller Williams just to build my network, even though at this point I'd already been a real estate agent. I won the award for highest commission, the whole company. I was there about 1.5 years, and then I did kind of a rent-a-broker thing and built my team. And then I got my broker's license a while ago, and it wasn't until, like I said, about 14 months ago, I said, you know what, the business really needs mentorship, because I see agents today, for example, they show homes and they don't know, they don't even know who the mayor is. They don't know where the grocery stores are. They don't know what the home would rent for. They don't know what the appreciation has been. What's happening in our industry is that it's really just devolved to people buying leads online, opening the door, and then people are making their buying decisions mostly on a visual inspection. And that's not how real estate used to be done. So we kind of bring that back. We bring back the professionalism and the knowledge. And that's what realtors want. And so that's why so many people want me.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people don't realize that I was a licensed realtor in Nevada as well. I actually have that background in real estate, and I work with a lot of realtors. And something that blows my mind is we just had our home transaction. It's one of the worst home transactions I've ever had in my life. From the buyer side, from the seller side, it's like, what is going on? The entire thing was just absolute garbage. It's just god awful. So you went ahead and you got your broker license, and you have this experience building up a team. You have insane experience as an appraiser, as a loan originator, and as a realtor.
Right.
So what made you decide, hey, I'm going to start Metroplex?
Well, a lot of people don't. A lot of people get their broker's licenses and they become broker associates, right? So they work under another name. But what I wanted to do was I looked at all
within the broker, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But I looked at all of the brokerages out there, and whether it's, I can't use names here, but whether it's a high-end name or a mom and pop shop, you'll find in our market and pretty much everywhere, that I visit, that the agents really just don't know what they're doing. For example, I have in the last 12 months, my company has closed 350 transactions, right? That's a phenomenally high number of deals. And not one time has an agent ever come to me and said, Carl, I went and showed my client and the listing agent met me, right? In fact, I'll share a secret here for agents that might be listening and watching. One way I get so many listings is I tell the agent, or I tell the homeowner that us as agents, what we'll do is we'll actually be there for the showings. And one of the tricks that I teach is to restrict the showings to maybe 1 or 2 days a week when we'll be there. So we kind of bring the old school back, and homeowners love that. They say, really, you'll do that for me? And I say, yes, because not only am I going to memorize everything about the market, know and learn, that, but I'm also going to know all the special things about your house, that's what people are attracted to. And so I'm going to share that with the other agent that shows up. I'm going to share it with their client. And so that helps those deals get done. It helps us get more deals and helps us close more deals.
Yeah, hands down. And the house that we just closed on was $500,000 property. We sat down, we closed on it. It wasn't vacuumed. It wasn't clean. Like toilets were all nasty, like just pube hairs, and it's
Yeah.
just god awful. And it blew my mind that people found that acceptable. It's
Right.
like the listing agent didn't walk through and just signed off on her name just for a commission check. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
You're right.
And,
absolutely.
I'm the bad guy for bringing it up, but they don't realize, hey, I was a licensed realtor in Nevada. I have,
right.
Yeah. I have homes sold like underneath my name.
Well,
no way in hell I'd attach that crap to my name. Like just
the other thing too that I find very interesting is that, real estate agents, because they are a lot of them working part-time and not doing it professionally. And I consider a professional being someone who's full-time. Now,
do you focus full-time or part-time realtors?
Well, it's a mix, because as a mentor, my goal is to take someone I don't have any brand new agents. I like maybe one. Everyone that I hired and everybody that I have has 3 to 5 years experience, but might be, part-time because they're trying to get full-time. In fact, one of my agents today, Ray, he said he's quitting his job. He texted me this morning because I was able to get him so much business that he's now able to quit his full-time job and do this. And I have many of those stories. And that's because when you bring professionalism back, when you bring in tenacity, when you bring in the work ethic, you'll be successful in anything, right?
Oh yeah, hands down. It's funny that you mentioned job. The multi-level marketing scene. They have this acronym, just over broke, and that's the honest God truth. And especially with the real estate market, when you're sitting down, you're working, you're getting 2.5%, 3% commission. Like that's money.
Yeah, it really is. I think agents, they focus on the wrong thing. A lot of agents try to discount their commissions. Well, one, because they don't know how to sell their value. But number two, the way I'm never really discounting mine is you have to look at it as hiring me as a lawyer, as an attorney. So how much time is this going to take? And, when you reserve my time, when I'm going to be there for all the showings, when I'm going to do all the follow-up calls, when I'm going to, negotiate the deal for you and I'm going to handle it all, I have to figure out how much time that's going to take. And if it's only going to take a week or two, then yeah, maybe I'll do it for, 2%, or 5%, if you're doing the listing or something. But, if I have a deal where the guy wants top dollar and they want to reserve my time, I often get my listing agreements at 7%, 8%, if they want me to prioritize and make them number one.
Yeah, that's
it's just the value, right?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and let's talk about. So, like I said, I follow him on social media. Definitely, if you're not following Carl, look him up, follow him and stuff. We'll get into where you can find him coming up. But something that's super, super awesome is I sit down and I see you do these training classes, and it looks like you're training every single day. So, what's it like to sit down and train so many agents? You hired 100 plus people in the last year.
Yeah, well, so the reality is my sales training is, once you learn the skills, and you've seen, and anybody that goes and sees me, it's Facebook/Carl Azbell or Instagram Carl Azbell, you come to one of my sales trainings. I teach the techniques that you need, to really, persuasion and listening skills. I do give the scripts, and when I have these guys come in, they train with me 4 or 5 times, and then they're doing business on their own. So a lot of people are really uncomfortable teaching those skills because then that agent can go work wherever they want. Now they have the skills, right? So I find a lot of brokerages don't train those sales skills. In fact, other than my company, which is founded on,
right?
My company is founded on mentorship and sales training. There's not one real estate brokerage out there whose goal is sales training. So we kind of bring that to the industry, and that's our focus. So I only usually have maybe 10, 15 people at a training at a time until they have the skills, and then they go out and now they're able to do it on their own. So it kind of filters itself, and that's why I only hire 8 to 10 people a month. I've been doing that obviously for the last 14 months or so, and it just keeps a revolving door of growth, and that's really, really been exciting. And that's what's led to us having, we've already done $60 million of business, and it's July 9th. So very, very excited. They're doing great things.
That is insane. So what are some future goals that you see for yourself and for growth? Obviously come from Keller Williams stuff. Gary Keller is fantastic. He teaches one thing. He teaches a lot about goals and 411, the whole 9. So I know that you have 5-year goals. You have 1-year goals. What are some goals that you're looking forward to?
Well, you got to write those out. I posted, I think last week, I said, don't let Friday slip you by, because Friday's the day that I plan for the next week. So I do set Friday evenings aside.
I remember that post.
Yeah. But I do that religiously to make sure. But to answer that, looking further out, we want to make sure that we can take the sales training nationwide, where we can go out and I can do a sales training in Arizona or New York, wherever it is, and the agents that are interested in that can join my sales training group. So I think partnering with a real estate brokerage, but still continuing to be my own brand, will give us that nationwide opportunity, which I think is really, really exciting, because I see people, and just even in Texas, like I'll go to a small town where there's just no options. For example, I have an office in Corpus Christi, and when I go there, the agents just say, "Can I work for you? Can I work for you?" Oh my God, because there are no other options, So I haven't hit Corpus Christi very hard, but I have several agents that work there. And then, like I said, going and bringing sales training back to real estate. People think sales training means how am I going to get the house sold? And that's not what sales training is about at all. Sales training is how am I going to leave the right voicemail to get that person interested enough to call me versus the other 100 calls that they got, right? Or how do I just go?
Leverage and listing, right? That's the 3 L's.
Yeah, well, right. How do I go downstairs and just go to the bar and meet 5-10 strangers and then pick up 5-10 new leads, right? The list goes on and on, but those are my goals, is really to be able to offer the sales training on a nationwide level, and then be able to have that agent join me so that I can train them, whether it's online, remotely, or just bounce back and forth to do trainings.
And you just mentioned that Metroplex actually just switched to like Countrywide Realty Group. Am I right?
Right. So we got the LLC, very excited. Countrywide Realty LLC. So I operate both. Countrywide Realty Group, which is Metroplex Realty, basically is just a division where I'm going to begin traveling. I've got Arizona next week, and then week after that, I've got Chicago. I've got Vegas in there. So I'm doing trainings at those locations again, I try to be humble. I was humble in Dallas. I said, maybe people would want to mentor and do sales training with me. And I couldn't get the door to stop opening. I couldn't get the phone to stop ringing. I couldn't get interviews to stop. It was literally, wow, I can only do 30 interviews a month, and I would pick 7 or 8 that I thought were good, So I want to be humble with this and go out and just, if people are interested, but, hired 100 and something in 12 months. So I'm assuming that demand is going to be,
insane.
Going to continue.
That number. and that leverage too, like people don't understand, like one of the main benefits of real estate is to create leverage. And when you sit down, you're able to hire 100 plus in 12 months and train them and develop them. Like that is insane leverage. That's
I will say, I work 72 hours a week, and a lot of that is the sales training. A lot of that with mentorship means that I need to meet with the agent one-on-one. So the agents meet with me, they call me, they text me. And it's not about, how do I generate leads? The fact is anyone can generate leads. All you have to learn is some basic skills on meeting strangers and in building communication. And now you know how to get leads, right? It's a lot more than just that. Now, how do you nurture it? Now, how do you convince someone the benefits of doing one thing versus another? When I worked at Countrywide, we were the most expensive mortgage company there was. We had to convince people, and we were the highest producing mortgage company in I think, the world. We were doing $20, $30, $40 million a day in volume. Oh, wow. And, how do you do that as the most expensive option? Well, you have to have really good salespeople. And so learning those skills, I can't stress enough, is how you grow your business.
Absolutely. And for me, I'm a huge fan of copywriting. I love Dan Kennedy, and he has a saying, if you compete for the lowest price, you're going to lose, because there can only be one lowest price. So it's absolutely awesome that you're pointing out, hey, my average listing is 6, 7, 8%, which is way above market average. And back when I was at Countrywide Mortgage, like we were doing XYZ and we were the most expensive, you had that unique value proposition. So what's that UBP that you have right now? What's that unique value that you bring to the clients?
For example, I'll tell a client, like say on a listing, and especially an expired listing, those are so easy, because I'll say, did your agent throw a lockbox on the door and just let other agents show it that don't know what they're doing? And they'll say, yes. And I say, well, I don't do that, right? Neither are my agents trained that way. They're trained to do those showings. They're trained to do all that work themselves. I also say this, all the people you interview, just ask them this simple question: where's the nearest Kroger? What would this home rent for? Ask them some basic knowledge about the neighborhood, right? Like, what has the appreciation been in the last 3 years? They're not going to know these basic questions. And if you don't get those questions, if they don't have it memorized, when they come in to do a listing pitch with you, call me and I'll be happy to do the deal for you. So I usually don't even ask for the business. I usually walk away kind of with that attitude. Seems kind of like show offy maybe, but it's very true, and it's, I think, like Gary Keller, he does good training, and Keller Williams does great training, but they kind of go down the, I'm worth it path, instead of actually showing what your worth is. And so I really just believe in coming to the facts, with the appointment ahead of time to show my worth, and then let the customer figure it out on their own. And they always do. They always call me back. Like, I'll go on a listing appointment and they'll say, what's your marketing pitch? And I say, anybody that walks in here that tells you they know what their marketing pitch is before they've even met you is ridiculous. But I do know everything about your neighborhood. I do know all the history, and I'm prepared. I memorize all that, right?
That is absolutely huge too.
Clients love that. And it comes down to preparation. When I sold, there was one year I sold, I think, 82 homes by myself. There was no team. When I sold all those houses.
You did 82 homes in 52 weeks? I have a buddy, Dan Putz. He was actually featured on this too, but he does insane numbers like you. And I sat down and met him when I was at Keller Williams, and it's funny because now he's part of EXP too.
Right.
But he just, I sit down and I hear like numbers like that. I'm like, holy shit, like that's insane.
Well, let me tell you, here's how I did it. Here's how I did it. I told Realtor.com, I said, I only want 20 leads a month. And what I would do with each lead, with the listing agent's permission, I would go and I would see the home, because they tell you what home they're interested in. So I would go tour that house. I'd take my camera and I would do a tour inside the house. I'd say the person's name. It's directly for them. And I would say, this is the home you're interested in. So I came out here and I toured it for you. I actually learned that technique because a guy that I bought one of my Porsches from, he did that. He said, Carl, you probably got a bunch of calls from a bunch of salespeople, but I want to do this tour video for you, and this is the car I have on the lot. So I just bought it from him. I didn't even ask him to come down on the price of it.
Actually, technique I teach my car guys. That's funny.
Yeah, right? And so, I did that with the homes, and I tell agents to put in the work. But I tell you, David, the hardest thing to hire for as a broker, for me to hire for is work ethic.
Oh yeah, hands down, because you get the people that sit down and very much like you said, you get people that think, oh, hey, real estate is just going and opening up doors. It's showing people, and that's not real estate. That's not work. Like if sales is the highest paid, hardest work you'll do, or the lowest paid, easiest work you'll do. Am I right?
Yeah, so you have companies, I can't use names, but you've got companies now where you can just list it, and then there's even listings you can do with these companies where you just enter a code and the door opens on its own, right? They're trying to take real estate agents out of the industry. And that happened because Texas has always had a really strong MLS. I started my career in Arizona where there was hardly any MLS at all. So when you got a listing, whoop-de-doo, it didn't matter because now you had to find the buyer, right? And so when people have that mentality, or if they're taught that old school mentality, because I've been doing this almost 20 years. You take that to today's business and you'll have a lot of luck. When agents tell me, Carl, I'm having trouble generating leads or generating business, I say, go to Half Price Books, look at the marketing books, from 20 years ago and do that, right? Everybody's jumping on, for example, like Facebook leads and all that. That's so saturated. Do the stuff that's not saturated. Focus on the things that, like meeting people at a bar, focus on actually sending direct mail, like an actual campaign, focus on doing charity event, even if you're not donating, but try to get a spot where you can come in and meet others. Where I am today, for example, I'm at one of the tower clubs in Dallas, right? So we do social, it's $80 a month, but we do these social events. So I meet all the people that come here, all the business people. And there's just so many things you can do that brokers don't teach and train because they're worried that the agent's going to go and change brokerages and go work for XYZ shop that charges you $100 a transaction, right?
Yeah, it's that scarcity mentality again. And it's that blue ocean versus red ocean. Like, why are the people sitting down when they can jump in a blue ocean and have all the food for themselves to jump into red ocean, like you're saying, with Facebook leads and with, sales funnels and the whole nine?
Yeah, we moved and we partnered with for the countrywide expansion with EXP Realty, right? And EXP hires now 1,000 agents a month, and there's a reason why you have such exponential growth. Like I hired 100 in 12 months, but as a company, they're hiring 1,000 realtors on average per month, and it's all about networking, right? So in this, or you probably hear people talk about this all the time. It's all about building that network, but brokerages don't train how to do it. And I do. I sit down with an agent and I say, how do you want to network yourself? And I actually say, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And then once you sign up for, doing this networking activity, once you sign up for this club, I want you to call me that weekend and let's discuss for 30 minutes and tell me how it went. Let's improve your skills. Put a recording on a video of yourself giving me your 2-minute pitch on why someone should know you. Give me, an audio message, send it to me. When you meet someone on the street, why somebody should take your business card, not just throw it in the trash after you hand it to them. Those skills are really important. And that's what the mentorship part means to me.
Absolutely. And that is just beyond amazing. Especially me, I've sat down, I've been associated with a lot of realtors and I've worked a couple of different brokers. And it's not often that you get people that sit down and they invest, in their staff and their team and learning those skills, because those skills are transferable. It's like you're saying, a lot of the brokers out there, they have this scarcity mindset, like, hey, I'm going to sit down and invest time and train this person. And what happens if they leave?
I mean, that's part of the business, right? I look at, and one of the reasons why I chose, and it means a lot to me, Angelo Mazzillo hopefully will watch this video someday, right? Or this audio. And, the reason that I chose Countrywide Realty Group for the nationwide part of my expansion is because I learned those skills over the phone when I was at Countrywide Home Loans. And so, I left that company, right? I took those skills, I learned, I left, and went in and did great things. So when I see that happen, because it happens to everybody, I see that as an opportunity to be proud of that person for going on their path. I never want anyone to feel stuck. And I think that's a recipe for short-term success and long-term disaster, is by trying to keep people from feeling like that they can leave.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's always been about growth and growing and moving on to the next step if it's needed. And hey, if it's good fit, stay there and keep working. And especially for me, I always say that there's a huge difference between a manager and a leader. Manager is just a shitty person. And then you have Carl right here, and he's a hell of a leader. He cares about his people so much.
I grew up, I mentioned earlier, my father ran businesses his whole life. And so I would watch him. He was very interesting. He was a scientist. He would invent things. And so what he would do is he would build this tool. He'd pitch it to a major oil company. And then he would have to hire the staff, and he'd do this for 2 years. And then the project would close down. He'd do it again. So I saw him do that many, many times. And I kind of do the same thing. It's all about being, as a leader, because I'm not a very good manager, is I hire the right people, so everything that I do, that if I sit there and I say to myself, oh man, I spend 30 minutes a day, or I spend an hour a day writing email, I say to myself, who can I hire that can answer my email for me? Or I say, what, this thing keeps happening, and I, who can I hire that's going to handle that for me? So you look at CEOs, right? You look at CEOs, you look at executives, and you always say to yourself, how come they look like they're not doing anything? Well, because if you're a good leader, you know how to hire good managers.
Mm-hmm. Hands down. Yeah, it's leverage. So this has been an absolutely insane interview, just completely eye-opening. One of my favorite for the Sales Talk Uncensored Success Series. Typically, I like to keep these about 20 to 30 minutes. I know that we're probably pushing close to the 30-plus minute mark. So let's wrap this up and tell people where they can find you and how they can get associated with you and how they can grow with you.
Yeah, so one of the big things, obviously, is growth and exposure. So I've SEO'd myself pretty well. Just Google Carl and then Google Azbell. Carl Azbell, Azbell. You'll find me all over the internet, just on Google, or on Facebook, Carl Azbell. That's the best way. I like to just have those connections. Send me a message, or you call or text me, for that matter, anywhere in the country, right? Because now we have our countrywide expansion. So 469-358-9327. And as a mentor, I'll get in touch with everyone. I love doing that. So I love seeing people succeed.
And absolutely. And this is a guy that is just 100% telling the truth. Like I said, I found him on Facebook. You look him up on Facebook and you see his growth, and you can track his growth, and you can track the insane stuff that he's doing. It's been a blast, man. Absolute blast. So guys, look up Carl Azbell. And what's your number again? Just in case I want to text you or call you.
Absolutely. Text me. That's the best, right?
Okay.
469-358-9327.
Awesome, man. I love it. So it's your boy. It's the Huff. We're about to log off. Do me a favor. If you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, listening to it on wherever you're going to listen to it, right? Give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to share and subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, it's been a blast.